Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. And on today we have Ed Troccoli, who made top 4 at the most recent Milton Keynes regional, actually in Bletchley. So he was playing a version of Sky Striker very similar to the kind of thing that we've seen topping loads of recent events in the UK and also in the US as well. So let's just run through the list quickly and then move on to the more tactical stuff. So triple Ash, triple Veiler, and one Ghost Spell. This has been a sort of recurring theme of people just putting in one. It does have an impact on occasion, and it's generally sort of held until it does the most damage. Triple Ray, triple Cyclone, triple Foolish Goods. This is typically seen at 2, so we're going to ask him what the third one's for. One Fusion, one Rotor, triple Area 0, one Afterburners, Jamming Waves, Eagle Booster, very important now given the existence of Nibiru as well. One Hornet Drones, a double Shark Cannon, triple Anchor. The one multi-roll, unfortunately, the deck is now down to 1. Hercules Base, triple Engage, one Terraforming, one Upstart, and triple Impermanence for 10 hand traps there combined. The extra deck, some cool stuff here actually. So there's one Dengetsu, because you can obviously steal your opponent's Galatea and then just generate masses of advantage from there. One Borosword, Hita, Phoenix, Ningetsu. Baelings is pretty interesting as well. A triple Hayate, one Kagari, one Kana, triple Shizuku, and one Bomber Dragon. For the side deck, double Ghost Ogre, really impactful hand trap, but only within certain matchups of course. Triple Primal Being, Nibiru. One Mega Fleet, you can use this against the Cyber Dragon deck because it does require a Cyber Dragon monster and other monsters in the extra monster zone. You can essentially get rid of an Infinity and a Galatea here often just with this one card pushed into your extra deck. Double Shed Ride, double Twisters, triple Dimension Ground, a really impactful semi-floodgate, and then double Summon Limit. Very interestingly here, no copies of There Can Be Only One, didn't need them, just go with the pure strategy of hand traps and Sky Striker cards. So we've got his rounds here, so we'll start off with those. So round 1 was against Orcust and he went 2-1. Game 1 made the opponent go first, Bell on the Skeleton, and then the opponent passed on a pretty subpar board. So he was able to break it and slowly kill him and then win game 2. Win it, and then in game 2 he opened 2 Nibiru, 2 Imperm and Ash. Imperm and Ash were used, but he wasn't able to go through the Nibiru because the opponent used an Ibli, so that also locked down the Imperm as well after that. Top decking Ray allowed him to slowly break the board, and then Nibiru on the opponent eventually allowed him to push really far. The opponent top decked a Harp Horror though, and just made a Galatea. Ed just realised by typing this that the opponent couldn't have actually made that because obviously the token is not an effect monster, but it went downhill from there, and then in game 3 Ed managed to open 3 Veiler, a Jamming Wave and an Area 0, so passed with Shizuku and 3 Veiler, and the opponent just has to sort of play through all the negates, and there was a Kana, and the opponent had used Instant and Cosmic, so Ed was able to win that one in time because just stay ahead on life points. Round 2 against Sky Striker, a 1-2 loss here. Game 1 he went first, just negated the opponent's Kagari and Shizuku and slowly ground out the game, and the opponent scooped. Game 2 they went to a point where Ed completely wiped the opponent's board and hand, and he made a Phoenix with the opponent's monster and Shizuku to pop the opponent's roll, but unfortunately the opponent managed to top deck a Ray, and that is generally enough, and through it was able to beat Ed, who was 1 turn away from getting game with the Phoenix. And in game 3, heading close to time, Ed went first, tried to set anchors, etc., but his hand wasn't strong enough, and the opponent was able to just go through Hayate and get some damage in there, and time was called. Round 3 against Orcust 2-0. So Ed was forced to go first, set anchors and shark cannons. The opponent activated mine and passed, and Ed just Cosmic Cycloned it and basically had a win from there. Game 2, he got made to go first again. He had Engage, which got ashed, and off the Fusion he drew a second DDG, so he passed with a different Dimension Ground, Summon Limit, and something else which is kind of insane in this matchup, stuns the opponent, and then slowly started to get bits of the engine going and beat the opponent there. Round 4 against Pendulum, a 2-0 here. This is actually pretty interesting. So game 1, the opponent made him The opponent went first, makes a pretty subpar board of Spheres, Vortex, and Jackal. Subpar with regards to this deck, obviously it was pretty good against some other ones. And Ed was able to slowly break it and just anchor all the guys and kill the opponent with that eventually. And then in game 2 the opponent opened quite a lot of Resettra cards, so it didn't end on much, and Ed was able just to break the board and slowly beat down with Hayates and Anchors. Round 5 against Orcust, a 2-1 victory here. Game 1 he ended on Anchor, Shark, Roll, and Ash in hand, and the opponent just had to scoop at that point. In game 2, Ed anticipated that the opponent would make him go first, so decided in different dimension ground summon limit, etc. But actually the opponent decided to go first, ending on Anti-Spell Crescendo. Ed was totally unable to play through that, just got killed in that one, and then in game 3 the opponent had loads of hand traps, but Ed was able to play through the majority of them and slowly break down the opponent with Hayate. A different dimension ground, he said, was really good turn 1 when he ended on Shizuku different dimension ground pass. Even though it got twinned, obviously that doesn't matter, it's still so impactful. Finally, round 6 against Salamangreat, a 2-0 victory here. Game 1 the opponent went first, ending with Bailings and set 3 or 4, which is a pretty oppressive situation to be facing down. Ed says he can't remember, he tried to play through it, but the opponent had 2 impermanents and a Cosmic, and Ed eventually managed to out-resource the opponent and scooped. And in game 2, the opponent went first. He can't really remember what happened other than it was a pretty quick game and the opponent misplayed trying to pitch a Sea Archiver off of Foxy. The best play in that part of the game was probably when Ed managed to anchor the opponent's Wolf and crash it into a Phantasme to prevent the Gazelle in the hand from summoning. And crashed the Kagari with 9 spells into the Phantasme, and then summoned Ray and attacked and tagged out, which was kind of cool. As for why he decided to play Striker for this event, he said he played it because he's really comfortable with it as a deck and he's quite confident with the list that had been built. For these 10 hand traps, he decided to play them because he was choosing to go second and he wanted lots of cards that basically did the same thing, stopping the opponent's combo at the key point. We almost always see the 2 goods, 1 fusion, as I said before. Why did he opt for the third one? He says it's pretty busted going second because you fill out your grave with 3 spells for free, essentially. And it's great then because you get bonus cards off Engage, you can take your opponent's stuff with your Anchor, and you net so much free advantage. Drawing multiples really sucks, but multi-roll Area 0 are just great options to get rid of the spare one anyway. As for Nibiru inside, obviously it's a very impactful card in the right matchup, but I wanted to know if he would play it again because sometimes it does lock you down. He says in theory, Nibiru going second is pretty busted because you just do it when you know that they have no extenders, but it's only good against combo decks, and if the combo deck is good, then they will just play around it with Jackal or Ibli or Azathoth, etc. If he were to play the event again, he wouldn't play Nibiru because of this. However, in the future, if people stopped playing as many counter cards to it, it would definitely be worth putting back in, of course. This is the cycle that we typically experience with a card that's so impactful that it changes the format, such that the card is no longer impactful and there's just a loop there. As for different dimension ground, it seems like it had a pretty big impact based on his matchups, but why not play the Lancia? He said it was busted for him going first against Pendulum, Orca Salad, and combo decks that use the Grave because it essentially skips their go. They can't actually play without going neg from that point. Lancia is really good going first and second, but it's really only good against Orcus variants, so he just wanted to play different dimension grounds so he had more coverage. Instead of playing the Nibiru's, he would probably play Lancia in the future because Lunalight Orcust is just too scary a deck. As for other changes he might make to the deck going forward, other than cutting Nibiru for Lancia, he doesn't think that there's anything other than maybe cutting a Veiler for a second Bell, because a Bell seems really strong against most matchups. And Lunalight Orcust, which is arguably the deck's hardest matchup, it really helps out there too. As for the shoutouts go to Chris for lending him a Dengisu and a Nibiru, Harry for lending him Cosmics, and to Polly and Michael, who basically came up with a list and gave it to him and Harry for lending the DDGs and for topping the event as well. So congratulations, Ed, on another successful top 4 at the Milton Keynes Regional with Sky Striker. What do you guys think of this list? How do you think Sky Striker is going to evolve moving forward? And how will it perform at the YCS events, and especially YCS London, which is upcoming in October? Thanks very much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.